Hi, this is Ken1171, and in this video I want to show you a new script I have created to export 3D poses to Stable Diffusion AI image generator. And let's start with starting the script. Here it is. This is how it looks like, all the default options. So I have a figure here on stage. This is my favorite figure, Dawn from Hivewire 3D, and you can use any figure as long as it follows default poser standard naming conventions. It's going to work. So how does this work? In this top here, you can see all the figures on stage. There is only Dawn at the moment, but for example, if I duplicate the figure, it's going to show the duplication here. Let me show you. There are two now. And if you select the figure here, it selects it in Poser. And if you select it in Poser, it selects it here in the interface. If I delete the figure, it updates automatically. And that's how it keeps track of what you have selected. So just below it, you have the set of options. This is for deciding how you want to export the pose to Stable Diffusion depending on the specific case. For example, let's say I load a pose here, like she has her hands on her head. Let me edit this pose a little, lower the arms a little bit, okay? And you can see you cannot see the hands here, so it makes no sense that it would generate a hand pose and export it to Stable Diffusion, because what happens is whatever is included in the pose here will show in front of the character in Stable Diffusion. So if I want the hands to be behind the head, I do not include the hands. So here we have two options. One is to create full hands with fingers, and it's disabled by default. And the other one is to create simple hands with no fingers. I'm not going to create any of them because I don't want any hands, because this is going to help Stable Diffusion to understand, okay, these hands, I cannot see them because they are behind the character. So I disable that. Include feet, that's okay. And then the last option here is to show the dialogue that shows after I generated the whole thing. You'll see what that is in a minute. Okay, so once I have the pose I want, I frame more or less the camera. And here's an important thing. When I frame, it depends on the image size. I have to make this pose I'm going to export to Stable Diffusion to match the image I'm going to generate there. There in Stable Diffusion, I'm going to make the image 512 by 768. So here I have to open the render dimensions, and I have to here set the render to exact resolution and set to the same dimensions I'm going to use in Stable Diffusion, which is 512 by 768. However, since this is going to be a preprocessed OpenPose pose, it's a good idea if I double the size to give more pixel information for Stable Diffusion to chew on. So I'm going to make this double sized. Once I have the aspect ratio locked, I can just double one, it's going to double the other. All right, once you do that, you see that I have my framing here. I can resize the interface so that whatever I see here is going to fit exactly on the render. So now I can set my camera. Let's say I'm going to give some space below and over because Stable Diffusion is going to add more details to the character. And now I click the create button here, and it's going to create a preprocessed. It's going to analyze the figure and create a preprocessed OpenPose. And this is what it looks like. You will notice that it automatically turned the character invisible, and that's what this option does here. Show figure as outline. If I uncheck it here, I can see the character again. And if I check it, the figure turns invisible so that I can see what actually is going on. You can turn this back on in case you want to adjust the pose or something, but it doesn't matter if you turn it off. Next time you press the create button, it's going to enable it back, so no worries there. Okay, once you have the pose already as you want and the camera where you want, because remember, whatever you set the camera here is where the camera is going to be in OpenPose. You can press the render button. Once you do that, it's going to create the preprocessed OpenPose pose, and then it automatically copies it to the clipboard. So you'll notice here, it notifies you that a render has been copied to the clipboard. It's a good idea to see this, because if you never use the script, you're going to know what happened. But once you did it the first time, you can disable that notification by unchecking this last option here. So if you render again, it's still going to copy to the clipboard, but it's not going to bug you with showing the message again, because supposedly now you know it has been copied to the clipboard. I'm going to dock this to the Poser interface so that it's not part of the interface, so that I get some more space on the screen. Now, here is Stable Diffusion. As you can see, I don't have anything configured. I'm starting from scratch, so you can follow. What I have right now is I have that OpenPose in the clipboard. So I need to open ControlNet over here, and this is where we put the image. Since it's already in the clipboard, I'm gonna just press Ctrl-V, which is paste, and you see what I did there shows up here. And now I have to enable ControlNet and set the AI model to OpenPose. Since I already have the pose already preprocessed, I can disable the preprocessor here by setting it to none. The OpenPose model, you can leave it as it is. And that's all. Now, whatever I prompt here, my character will be in that pose. So I have some presets here. I'm going to add my details. Here it is, my default positive and negative prompts. And I'm going to just add my character here. It's going to be, let's say, a red-haired woman wearing jeans. I'm going to say blue jeans. And I'm going to say pants, just to be very specific. Black t-shirt, a belt, and, well, you'll see she's tiptoeing here, so she's probably going to need high heels. And that's all. I'm going to say that the arms are up, just to help the AI to know what's going on here. And now I think I have everything. I can just generate. And there it is. It's generating the image. Let's see what we get. And here it is. The character is on the pose. I don't like the perspective here. We have to be careful when we generate the image. If we look at camera here, we see that the focal length is 75. I'm going to set this to 210. There you go. I'm going to reframe this. This reduces the perspective distortion. You see there is a lot of it here. So let me generate the pose again. I'm going to remove this one and add the new one and try again. Let's see what we get. Should have less perspective distortion this time. There you go. And there you have it. If I make the character visible again, you see that this is the pose we have. You can come back here and since this is in full 3D, you can change the camera angle if you want, like for example more to the side like this, and re-render again. Come here to ControlNet and update the pose. As one convenient thing is that the pose is automatically copied to the clipboard, so you can just paste it here without fumbling with exporting images and stuff. All right, let's generate again. You'll see that the angle is a little different now. One thing you're going to notice from Stable Diffusion is the character is facing right, but on the generated image is facing left. That's because the armature that it generates, it's a stick figure. It can create some ambiguities regarding if the character is facing front or back, or right or left. Because from a stick figure, the AI is left to guess some things. But if you generate again, it may place it to the right side. Or not, now she's facing front. Let's see. Yeah, well, let's emphasize now that she's facing the right, because the feed is going to be pointing to the right. Maybe that gives the AI the right idea. Let's update the pose here and regenerate. Let's see if that helps the AI to know from what side the figure is. Yeah, see, if I emphasize that on the pose, now the AI knows exactly what side the figure is facing. All right? So, as you can see, we cannot see the hands, so it makes no sense to include the hands here. If I did include the hands, they would be in front of her face in the generated image, and that's not what we want. So it's a good idea to remove any parts from the pose that are hidden behind the body or behind something else. Let's say I don't like this arm here on the top. I want to make it lower. All I have to do is lower the arm here and then click on repose. That's going to repose the figure. I can render again. There you go. I'm going to drop it here, the updated pose. I'm going to keep the seed and regenerate. Let's see what we get. Yeah, that didn't change much, probably because the seed forces the arm to be up. If I remove the seed and try again, that's probably going to fix that arm. This arm here should go a little lower. Yeah, see? Now it went a little lower, the other one even lower. Whenever you choose a seed here, that kind of bakes the pose. So if you want to change the pose, you probably want to unlock the seed back to -1 so you can regenerate the image from random noise. All right, so that's one pose. Let's try another one. Let's say she has her arms on her waist, like this. I'm going to unlock the limits and apply the pose again. Yeah, there you go. And we don't have to create it again because we already have an armature. I'm going to just repose it and boom. Now, choose the camera angle you want. Let's make it more or less from the front. And this time I do want to create the hands. Full hands with fingers. And let's, oh yeah, if I want to generate hands, I have to create it again. So let's create. That will generate the hands this time. The reason I want the fingers is because I want this exact hand pose in the generated AI. Okay, now you can see I have full hands. Let's render, come here and bring the new pose. And let's regenerate and see what we got. As you can see, the pose is pretty good. One thing I want you to pay attention to is the hand positions. Here and in the generated image, it's a pretty good approximation. If you didn't have this pose with full hands, the AI would probably generate a mess. So let's try another generation with this same pose. And I want you to pay attention to the fingers. As you can see, it keeps a consistency on the hands because I'm telling the AI exactly where I want the hands to be with this here. The fingers are visible, so they're going to show in front. Now, you'll notice that the fingers can be a little distorted. That's because I'm making a full body render, and that makes the skeleton a little small for the AI to see. So if I bring the camera closer like this, this is called a cowboy shot, where you frame the character from the thighs up. And if I re-render and bring the new image here, you see that now I have a close-up. Let's regenerate, and I want you to see the difference. The more pixels you give the AI to process, the better the results are going to be. As you look here, I have better hands, but I ended up with 3 arms. I'm going to add here that on the negative prompt that I don't want 3 arms. And I'm going to give it some weight. Generate again. There you go. Let's see what we get. And we get better fingers because this is a close-up. And this is also a good example where you can see you can frame the character from any angle you want. Of course, the goal here is if I want the hands to look good, I have to show the most possible from this angle. The worst thing you can do is to put a hand where the fingers are one in front of the other so the AI would not know what is what. And that's generally going to create bad hands. That's one thing to keep in mind. All right, so this shows how to use full hands, and you can see here that even if I make several generations of the character with full hands, even if the rest of the body changes, the hands are still going to be in that pose. Let me do another one to show this. That's another generation. Some things changed, but the hands are still in place. That's what I wanted to show here. All right, so one more pose, leaning against the balcony. This pose here. Let's repose. That's what this, let me show the skeleton here. Yeah, on this one, I don't want the hands. So I'm going to disable the full hands, but I'm going to keep hands and regenerate. The reason I don't want fingers here is because I just want to tell the AI that the character is leaning on something, but I want the AI to decide how the hands are going to be posed. So I'm just telling that the hands are in this angle, but I don't want to tell anything else. I'm going to change the camera to around, let's say, 85 millimeters focal length, so that now I can make a close-up like this and render. Update the image here by just pasting it here. And this time, instead of arms up, I'm going to say leaning against rail or balcony. Leaning against balcony, and let the AI generate again. And you'll see that because the arms are in this position, telling the AI how to pose the hands. And if you look here, she is leaning against something, and just because I told the arms are in this pose, it already knows how to pose the rest of the hand. If I give it more space, because it's cropping on the sides, maybe the hands are not going to be cropped. Render again, paste it here, and generate. There you go. Yeah, this time the hands are not cropped. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Yeah, a little cropped there. As you can see, I didn't tell where the fingers are, so you may have some messing up on the hands here. That's the trade-off of not generating the fingers. But you get the general idea. She's putting the hands on a rail, and because they are not in the same angle here, let me see if I put them in an angle here so that they're in the same height and regenerate. Maybe it's not going to try to put them in two different rails. Let's see. Yeah, now I have a single rail because the arms are leveled. You see here, now I got better hand poses too, hands on a rail. And that demonstrates a lot of what the script can do. Let's generate another one. And now we got a different background, still the same pose, and the hands are in the rail. That shows the workflow from beginning to end, how to generate your poses in Poser and bring them to Stable Diffusion. One thing I want to tell is that I'm using Poser 12 here for one reason. The latest Poser version is 13, but here on Edit, the copy picture, which is what the script does after generating the preprocessed OpenPose, it copies to the clipboard, which is this function here, the copy picture. But this is not working in Poser 13. There is a bug, but I have already talked to the developers, and they said in the next update, this is going to be fixed. So hopefully by the time you're watching this video, that's already going to be fixed in Poser 13. You will know it's not fixed if when you paste the image here, you got a solid black image, because that's what I'm getting right now at Poser 13. But hopefully by the time you watch this, it's going to be fixed already. Okay, so let's go through the interface here and show you what the options are. Full hands already showed you. Simple hands, you've seen it already. I just use it now. Feet. Feet is like this. Let me show you. It creates this simple foot here, and if I disable feet and generate again, it's gonna leave the feet alone. It's not gonna create any feet, leaving for the AI to guess how the feet is posed. Again, depends on what pose you are doing. In this case, if I make a close-up like this, the feet doesn't matter at all. But one thing that's important, and that's the last example I'm gonna show here, the remove button removes the pose. What I wanna do here is I'm gonna add another figure. Let's move this one to the side, and I want to add another figure. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pose these two figures and show that the script can handle as many figures as you want. And there you go. I have a couple embracing each other. And what I can do here is I can create the skeletons for both. I want to create full hands for both. The feet don't matter, so I'm not gonna create any. So if I right-click the create, it's gonna do this for all figures on screen. Let's do that now. Creating full fingers takes a little while, so you have to be patient. It may look like Poser is frozen, but it's just doing the processing in the background. So just wait a little bit. Each hand has like 30 joints, so two figures is gonna be like 60 joints is gonna add. So that's why it takes so long. All right. Now we have the two poses, and I want you to pay attention to this. I have two hands that are in front, fully visible, and two hands that are in the back. If I leave this as it is, what's going to happen is the AI is going to think that all hands are in front of the body, and we don't want that. So what we can do here is we can remove the parts that are not going to be visible. So I'm going to select this arm. I'm going to hold the Control key and click on Remove. and you see it removed the entire arm. I'm gonna do the same thing for this one here. I'm gonna show you another thing is if I hover the mouse over each one of the buttons, it shows everything they can do. If I just click, it removes the entire skeleton. And if I hold the control key, it removes the part from where I have selected all the way down the hierarchy. And if I hold shift on remove and click, it's going to remove only this bone. Let's do that now. I'm going to hold shift and remove. It removes only that one. And if I hold control with that same selection, it's going to remove the entire arm. Let's do that now. Holding control, it removes the entire arm. Okay, this is good now. What did I do? I removed the two arms that are behind the body. So I'm telling the AI that they are behind. Now I'm going to frame. Let's give it a little space here for the AI to work so I don't get anything cropped. And let's render. Let's go back to Stable Diffusion. And now I have to change this completely. Instead of redhead woman, I'm going to put one man, comma, one girl, couple, hetero, so it doesn't put two women, because it tends to do that. I'm going to leave the clothing as it is, but instead of leaning against the balcony, I'm not going to put anything. And I'm going to remove the high heels, because the poses are flat foot, so I don't need that. Maybe that's enough. Let's see. I'm not giving much detail. Let's generate. See what we get. And here you are. We have a couple. Because I have deleted the arms that are invisible, that are behind the body, that the AI cannot see, it understood they are behind and not in front. If I didn't do that and I generated this image, you would see those arms in front of the body, which would probably ruin the pose because it would be impossible for them to be in this pose if all the arms were in front. Let's generate another one. You will notice that the hands are exactly as in the pose I have exported. There you go again. The hands that are visible match exactly. There you go. And the ones that are not, they could go into any pose because I'm not telling it where they go. So it may go like this. I may want to say here in the prompt that they are embracing other. So if you have to help the AI when the information is not in the pose, and then it's gonna make it more likely that the pose is gonna be what you want. See, they are embracing now. No matter what happens to the arms that are in front here, the ones that are included in the pose, like those here, if I make the skeletons visible, see this one here is exactly as I wanted. And this one here, it's good too. And that's what I wanted to show you. Some hints on how to hide things. If you want to, for example, repose. For example, I don't like this hand here. Maybe this arm here should be more to the side like here. For example, what you can do is select the figure and click the repose button. And that's gonna repose the skeleton now. If you look, it matches it exactly. If I put it back where it was. And another way that may be quicker, if I, instead of reposing the entire skeleton with hands, it just can be kind of heavy, I can hold control and click repose. It's going to repose only the part I have selected. As you can see, it's slightly faster. Once you do that, you have to re-render and paste and generate again. As you can see, that's a pretty quick process. And that's about it. That shows more or less everything I wanted to show. Thanks for watching.